And pull up our presentation for today. All right. Good afternoon and welcome to our Lunch and Learn series. We're actually nearing the end of this series. It's been going on for about 2 months now. And next week will be our final topic. My name is Andrea Bond. I had the idea to put this series together. I think it was over the summer as I just thought of all the things that have impacted my personal health journey that might be worth sharing in little bite-sized nuggets, if you will, over multiple weeks and the lunch hours. So I've actually been a wellness educator with the Juice Plus company for about 19 years now. I'm a certified health and life coach, and I've definitely been on my own personal health journey over the years. It really started with the diagnosis of Parkinson's for my mother. My grandmother had Parkinson's as well, and so that opened my eyes to the idea of genetics and what genetic tendencies meant for the my future health and then the health or the future health of my family, if you will. I'm a mom of three. I have three adult children now, a grandson as well. And so it really began my journey of digging in and wanting to learn more. And so, what I love about doing these different lunch and learns and sharing health and wellness in general is I think it's one of the most empowering things that we can do in terms of learning simple ways that we can improve our nutrition because there is a direct correlation to that and longevity and health span, right? It's not just about lifespan, but it's about the number of years that we're healthy while we're alive. So today's topic is protein, and we're going to jump right in by defining protein. And here's the thing, I think truthfully, we're all very well aware of protein. It's a big topic. It's been around since the beginning of time, really, and functioning humans, but some key things to know about it, to get a little bit more technical, if you will. It is one of the three macronutrients that our body needs. There's proteins, carbs, and fats. And so it's really considered a vital energy source. So I always equate macros in our body to, thinking of the analogy of your body as a car. And so the car needs fuel to move. You can't, run your car on sand in the gas tank. And so proteins are going to be part of that important fuel. And they're also going to help build and repair tissues. And so they're really the building blocks of our cells. They're present in every cell of the body and they consist of chains of amino acids. And so I always love the visuals that pop into my head. I don't know if they help other people, but they definitely help me. And so the way I would explain this is to think of a Lego set, right? You bought a Lego set that is going to build a protein, right? And in that case, you're going to have little pieces or little Legos. Those are the amino acids. So they're the compounds that are the building blocks of proteins. And here's the thing to know about them. You have to consume them. Your body cannot make them naturally. So they're so important. And there's about 20 amino acids in total. But you may have heard the word, this is getting a lot more attention, I feel, in the nutrition world these days of quote unquote perfect protein. What is a perfect? There are nine essential amino acids, and a perfect protein contains all nine. So, nine of the 20 are absolutely essential to build healthy cells, and those nine string together in a perfect protein. Now, when it comes to animal-based proteins, you're going to find this perfect string of nine in meats and dairy products. When it comes to plant proteins, it's a little bit different. There are perfect proteins in the plant world. They primarily come from soy products like edamame, tofu, tempeh, also hemp seeds, chia seeds, quinoa. But here's the thing to know too. You can eat I don't want to say this, a perfect protein meal by also combining imperfect proteins, if you will. So maybe one plant option has five of the essential amino acids, the other one has four. Good example might be beans and rice or lentils and nuts. You can combine them and still get that perfect protein content in that meal. So that's just a little bit of a more technical or scientific breakdown. The bigger question, I think, or the great debate is how much protein do we need? This, can vary, most certainly, as you can see here, based on activity levels. So Let's kind of run through a calculation here. So you're seeing grams and kilograms. So my mind immediately, I always think, maybe we should have just switched to the metric system all those years ago, but we do things in pounds. So first know that for every 1 pound of your body weight, you need that equals zero point 0.5 kilograms if you're calculating your weight. Okay. So whether you're sedentary, active, or a high-powered athlete, maybe a bodybuilder or something, your amount of protein needs is going to vary. And so I'll just run through an example to help you kind of, calculate for yourself. So let's just use the example of someone who is 150 pounds. So if I were 150 pounds, I would take that weight by 45%, the 0.45, to get my total kilograms. So I would weigh 20, I would weigh 68 kilograms. Okay. So if I'm 68 kilograms and I'm leading a sedentary lifestyle, meaning I'm not very active, I'm going to want zero point 0.8 grams of protein for every kilogram that I weigh. So quite simply, I'm going to take that 68, multiply it by 0.8, and I'm going to get 54 grams of protein per day. That's going to be my goal. Now let's take that one step further. Same scenario with active adults. So we'll use that 1 gram per kilogram. So again, if I'm 150 pounds, 45% of that is 68 kilograms times 1, 68 grams of protein. Pretty simple. One step further, we'll go to endurance athletes. So looking at that, we're going to look at, or actually, yeah, let's do ultra endurance athletes because those are like, I've actually got a daughter who's preparing for a marathon and then getting ready to run an ultra marathon. So this would totally apply to her. So you see the range varies the more active you get. And so 1.2 to 2.0 grams, let's just kind of assume the middle, 1.6. Okay. So again, 150 pounds and 45% of that is 68, right? My kilograms are the same, 68 kilograms, but now I'm going to work on getting 1.6 grams per kilogram. That would be about 109 grams of protein. So you see there's quite a variation based on activity level. And so here I think it's most important to know your daily amount. I always say you can't hit a target that you don't see. And so, not to get too obsessive with it, of course, there are obviously endurance athletes, bodybuilders, and such are totally tracking this on a high level, but know, in essence, what your daily goal is and understand that overall, the bigger challenge isn't the amount of protein, it's what the source of the protein is. So, we're going to dig into that next, and we're going to talk about protein deficiencies and imbalances. Okay, so deficiencies. The truth of the matter is, in the US population, this is fairly rare. So we are a big kind of meat eater society in general, animal products, including dairy. And so few people will be deficient. But this is a really cool chart that you can have as a resource if you are wondering. So there's 12 things listed here. I'll run through them real quickly, right? Constantly hungry, muscle loss, fatigue, slow recovery from exercise, hair loss, weak immune system, brittle nails, fluid retention, poor wound healing, difficulty concentrating, changes in skin texture, and weak bones. If you have 3 or more of those, so if you were literally to use that as a checklist and would check more than 3 of those, you definitely want to start tracking your protein a little bit more intentionally because you could be deficient. But again, it's not so much in the US, I believe, that there is a deficiency as there is an imbalance. But before we kind of jump that far ahead, let's just address the concerns of too much animal protein, because if anything, this is probably what plagues our society more, is that automatic assumption of, oh, I need to eat some protein. What meat am I going to eat? Fish, chicken, whatever that may be, or what's my dairy product here? So there are risks of consuming too much protein. Most of them are linked to gastrointestinal issues. You can see some of them here. There can also be kidney concerns, weight gain concerns, cardiac implications as well. And that is because most animal proteins are high in saturated fat. And so saturated fat is going to be what raises that LDL cholesterol. So if, there is a genetic component to cholesterol, but if you have concern on your cholesterol levels, this could be a really great place to kind of assess what does my protein intake look like? How much am I getting, right? We already talked about what your goal would be. So you could figure out, are you getting too little or too much? Probably too much meat or dairy in this situation. But then more importantly, you can address the variety of it. Because again, when we're focusing on too many animal products, we're crowding out the benefits that come from plant-based proteins. They have a lot of phytonutrients or plant-based nutrients, antioxidants that are really the opposite, that are going to help lower that cholesterol. So the the overall approach, if you will, here would be not one or the other, but both and. So, not am I getting my protein from meat and dairy? Am I getting my protein from plants? But that I want the variety. Variety is always the spice of life, right? So, let's jump in and look at some of these plant proteins. I mentioned a few of these earlier. So, you can kind of see on the right side of this image, you get into those perfect proteins, the tofu, the edamame, the tempeh. If you don't eat tempeh, eat it. Absolutely love it. It's like my favorite thing to have for dinner. So, what's great about these, again, is they're not only going to have protein in them, they're going to have antioxidants, they're going to have fiber, they're going to have things that animal proteins will lack. And they're also going to, because of that, because of their components, if you will, that fiber and all of that are going to help with that lower saturated fat level, help with cholesterol, help with things like heart disease, type 2 diabetes. So again, it's not an either or. You don't want to just think this is my only source of protein, but how can I balance out protein and get both plants and animal products, if you're an animal eater, into my diet on a regular basis? So, one of the simplest solutions for people is supplementation, right? It's why we take supplements, whether hopefully whole food supplements and not vitamins that are synthetically made. But, anytime we're taking something extra, looking at supplementation, it's because we're trying to meet a goal or cover a need that we know our diet might be lacking. And really, when it comes to protein powders, right, this is a huge market. Um, they're convenient and they're an easy way to get more protein in and get more variety. But important to note, it's the kind of protein that's going to add to that variety component. And I say this because whey proteins are very common and very popular, but the thing to know is that they are made from a byproduct of cheese. So they are from the dairy industry. And again, is it that we are deficient as a society in animal-based proteins? Not really at all. And so they're actually quite inflammatory to the body. Dairy has that effect. And so if you are looking to supplement your protein needs, in terms of using a shake or protein shake, I would highly encourage you to focus on a plant protein shake because of what we just touched on. Because you're not going to be deficient in the animal products, you're more likely deficient in the plant proteins, and these are far easier to digest. They're also going to include the fiber, the plant nutrients. They're going to have cleaner ingredient list overall. And so I have to share my favorite shake. I've been drinking this, gosh, probably 18 years. I would have to go back and say, I don't know that there is a day that I have missed this shake. It's that good. I travel with it. Comes in little single packets or big pouches. And so even we spent two weeks on the road just last month hiking Utah State Parks, had my single packs and open it up and my shake every day. So convenient, of course. And this again, when we're looking at hitting those protein goals, if our diet is deficient, what a great and simple way to be able to add to it. But more importantly, if our diet is more than likely deficient in the plant protein components, to get all those added benefits, Complete is a great alternative. And I love the simplicity of it because it comes in chocolate and vanilla. Like there's not 100 protein flavors because guess what? You can make chocolate and vanilla pretty much any flavor. I actually do a mocha flavored salted caramel smoothie every morning. If you want that recipe, definitely reach out to me after. It is so good. But what I love about this protein in particular, because again, there are a lot of protein shakes on the market. I love that it's certified clean and pure. It's NSF certified. We talked about that a lot last week. So that's super important. That was our label reading component. It's got a nice balance of soy, pea, chickpea, and rice proteins. And so, to touch on that, let's just address that elephant in the room, if you will. A lot of people go, oh, wait, no, 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 I avoid soy. Now, who should avoid soy? Maybe somebody who has an allergy, right? Somebody who's allergic to pineapple should avoid pineapple. But soy is not bad. Soy has gotten a really bad rap, interestingly enough. Started becoming an issue, if you will, when soy milk came out on the market and the dairy industry sales started to go down. So you put that puzzle together. But just like most things, it's the quality, right? Is it pure? Is it processed? Is it GMO? Is it not? And that's all I'm going to say on that today, because our last Lunch and Learn next week will be myth busting some of those common nutrition misbeliefs, and we'll get a little bit deeper on that subject. So great variety of plant proteins, great source of fiber and complex carbs, certified clean and pure. And what I love is a variety that this offers my diet, because again, I already shared that I have a shake every morning, but this is so versatile. I use it for muffins, pancakes, cookies. Oh my goodness. What don't I use this for? I love to make a little brownie mixture in the evening. And going back to our goals, because I am a plant-based eater, I really have to pay more attention to the amount of protein I'm getting in my diet. And so on that note, when I feel like, gosh, I did not do really great today, I have a second shake. I love to just shake it up, the chocolate up with a little PB2, and that's like my dessert drink. It's so heavenly. And so I can easily add that in. So again, just really great variety at a super affordable price, just $2.67 a serving. So I'll share a link with you in a moment. If you're interested in getting and trying this, you can just do a one-time order if you want, order just vanilla, just chocolate, or a combination. And I can help you with that, or whomever invited you to this Lunch and Learn can get you connected as well. But I also want to offer you some other ideas to increase your protein intake and variety. Because again, it's very few people, myself, but and very few others, that are going to be concerned about not getting enough, since we are such a animal focused dietary society, if you will. So, my encouragement to you would be to get more plant proteins in. And here's some additional ways. Add beans or lentils to salads and soups. Do you think about that on a regular basis? If I have a salad, it's almost always going to have chickpeas, black beans, quinoa, or a combination of all of those on it, because that's going to increase the protein intake. I'll put tofu on salads as well. If you are getting the bulk of your protein from meat, again, try a meatless day. There's recipe books out there. We, as a Juice Plus community, we have a whole series of recipes and recipe books that will offer you options here. So you can just reach out and ask for any of those in digital form. Of course, you could add a complete shake a day. That is my go-to. There's also some great snacks that you can consider. Don't grab the chips, grab an apple and have some peanut butter with that. One of my personal favorite things to do in our complete recipe book contains a multitude of recipes for energy bites. Have you ever thought to just snack on edamame? What a great simple thing to really pack some protein in your diet. Again, it's about variety, getting that variety into your diet, and maybe sometimes just thinking a little bit out of the box. And then when you are looking at how am I doing on my protein, I really want to encourage you to spread it out in a day. Really try and think at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Don't just approach, I'm going to get my protein at dinner and try and make a load there. Give your body the opportunity to be nourished with quality sources of protein all throughout the day. So whatever your goal is, right? All different for all of us based on weight and based on activity level. Maybe divide that by 3 and then assess, how am I doing? Where can I get 15 grams of protein at breakfast? My complete shake will actually do that. But vary those food sources and, really getting more whole foods in your diet, because you'll never go wrong with more plants in your diet. And so, as we wrap this up, I just want to share for next week, nutrition myths busted. So, soy and many others will be shared with you next week on our very last Lunch and Learn. I hope you've enjoyed this series, and I hope you join us again for the last one next Tuesday. If you are interested in trying complete or digging into the options, the flavor options, the larger pouches, the singles, you can use that QR code. You can reach out to the person who invited you to either listen to this recording or view live. And that is my email address. I'm always open to questions and providing resources if you need those recipe books or anything like that. I really believe that when we focus on learning more, and then not only learning, like coming here today is awesome, listening to this is incredible, but applying what we learn is when we really see the benefits in our diet. So, and our longevity and all that good stuff. So thank you for tuning in today. I appreciate your time over this lunch hour, or maybe later again when you're watching the recording. And I wish you blessings of good health. Hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.